Okay, October 21st, nutrient reclamation system update. There's the fish, of course, which are what we're trying to reclaim the nutrients from. They're solid waste. Hey, fish. But also from plant matter that we can't eat. We'll let the bacteria eat it. So, of course, this is one of my 1.5-inch drains into a filter tub here. And this is another drain to a filter tub there, and that is, so these are both 1, 2 are both 1.5-inch lines. That's an 1.25-inch line, and it was plugged off, but now I've got it going into a 3/4-inch line that then goes through an overflow, and a valve so I can control it. And very slowly the water comes in here. Jeez, I hope I don't drop this in. and it kind of exits the pipe up in there somewhere. So anyway, very slowly the water's coming through. What's in here is a mixture of the waste sludge from my previous anaerobic digestion efforts, and I've also got, see the apples, and some fresh vegetable material to digest, which is an old tomato plant that I pulled out. And then the yellow stuff on top is I think that was about a pint or a quart, whatever's bigger, the big bottle of olive oil that had gone bad, rancid, or maybe it was used cooking oil. Anyway, it was waste oil, and so I poured it in here, and as you can see, it covers the surface, far less surface area for oxygen exchange through the water, and I think it's also better, for the bugs, to keep the bugs down, mosquito larvae, and so a number of reasons. So this seems to be going anaerobic, which is nice. Here's the overflow from the bottom, which I think is kind of plugged up, but it's still doing just a little bit. And here's what's inside that pipe. Biofilm is building up. Over here into the 1.5-inch line that I originally ran to draw water from the filters and conduct it down to the grow beds. But I replaced it with the 2-inch pipe, so now I can use it for a different purpose. So after the water goes through that anaerobic tank, it comes down here, across these, in the pipes. Boom, one pipe, of course. That's my pump supply line, but this is the line from the anaerobic tank. Boom, 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 up. And this is kind of what's happening here. Very slow flow. Very slow flow. And it's hard to see, but there's like a white, snotty, disgusting biofilm. Wow, that's really bad. Well, I don't know about bad though. Whew, it stinks. So anyway, that's like a secondary anaerobic processing. I'm not sure. So it'll probably be, well, it kind of extends, the volume of my anaerobic tank. It's not just the 70 gallons or whatever that fits in that tank up there, but also the pipe section that comes down and around. Okay, so the anaerobic water comes in here. I've measured it. It's high in phosphate. And it goes into this area of the tub here where I've got no air going. Just a limitation of my pipes and supplies. But I figure this is kind of like an anaerobic zone too, or something, I'm not sure. And then all of this area is aeration through a bird net. And what kind of ends up happening is a biofilm builds up on the netting don't know if you can kind of see it in there. And that's what helps release nutrients. I don't know exactly, but it's a more diverse ecosystem. And very, very tiny amount of flow. This is a 100-gallon tank right here. Whole thing. And that is a 75-gallon tank up there. Whole thing. And this is how much water we've got going through this, which is, I'm not sure how much it is, but very little. Very little. So then when the water finds its way down to the bottom of the tank, it goes through this overflow here, which you'll be able to see a little bit. Hard to see. Tiny, tiny amount of flow going on in there though. Okay. Okay, tiny amount. Now what's interesting is I tested the water coming out of here into the tank from the anaerobic tank, and it tested kind of higher in phosphates, like the darker side of 2 parts per million phosphate. I tested coming out of here, which is supposedly processed water, and it has lower levels of phosphate, and the only thing I can think of is that it's bound up in the phosphate goes in here and the biofilm is pulling it in. So, yeah, that's right, it's becoming part of the biological material. So anyway, lower levels coming from here to there, and I didn't test the sump tank, so I don't know what my system levels are, whether it's much higher or much lower. Okay, well that's basically it. And so my hope here is that I'll be able to put my vegetable waste matter from trimming plants and stuff, like here's a good pile of it, up in this tank, and it'll digest and break down, and then the material will come down here into here, and then the digestate from the anaerobic tank can be further processed in here to make the nutrients bioavailable for the plants, or maybe just to bolster the microbial ecosystem in the grow beds with which the plants are in intimate contact. So anyway, that's the update. Aerobic tank, anaerobic tank, very low flow, and in the hopes of additional good stuff for my garden.